What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving you a state of the market and stock picks for April 13th, 2022. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as I do give daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead. Now, let's go straight into state of the market. First thing this morning, we had core CPI come out. Now it came in at 8.4, I believe it was, year over year, which was fine. Considering the market standards, the market current condition, everybody knew it was going to be high. So that was expected. And so the market started to actually rally from that point. And something I talked about yesterday, especially looking at the daily, more preferably on the weekly, but ultimately on the daily, we broke back above this 44.10 mark. That's a particular mark I was talking about yesterday. And we had enough steam, we had enough momentum. We broke above that this morning. We actually started to run in a lot of big tech. Banks were kicking up this morning. They were starting to run. Everything was looking very good, essentially as predicted. But midday, we did get some new news. Now, this is a perfect example of what I talk about when the state, essentially the state of the market changes, because there was a very sad incident that occurred in the subway rail system in New York City. 5 people were shot. There were some potentially bombs also as well that they thought might have been there. So that escalated very quickly. Now, something like that could bring down the market a lot, depending on how it plays out. Again, if there's any kind of terrorist activity, that could dramatically affect the market very quickly. So this is also why you have to be very careful, be very nimble, and be mindful to news events, because when events like this happen, we broke back down below this support and we really started selling off. That just changed, like I said, changed the sentiment of the market very quickly. This is something I've been talking about. I felt like we were going to continue to push up. I felt like we had footing to do that today until that news event came out. And so now it leads us kind of at a really strange predicament right now. Again, foreseeing what happens with that particular event, as long as it's not a terrorist attack, the market should get over it in a sense fairly quickly. It's going to bring volatility, but if it is a terrorist act, considering what's going on in the world, it could bring down the market quickly. And if this attacker, was associated with Russia or China or something like that, it could get very ugly very fast. So you have to be mindful of that. This new element, it could definitely change things, like I said, very quickly. So, but being said, the next biggest catalyst we have going on, starting tomorrow, we got JPM, we got earnings. Bank earnings is what really matters. And something I also want to throw in here before I forget is the market is closed on Friday as well. So we have a shorter week. And so we have to understand going into tomorrow and in Thursday, there probably won't be as much volume. So we are seeing the market kind of really go flat very quickly during the day. And then you got this new news catalyst that is driving the market down. Again, if there's more details to arise from that, it is just some random guy who's fed up or whatever the case is, that will allow the market to continue to push up, in my opinion. Now, again, it really just depends on how the details are worked out of that. Something I have to look at, and we'll give more detail in the morning call, which I do on Twitter every morning. I try to get that out at about 8:30 Eastern Standard Time to try to get you ready for the market ahead. Now, as far as SPX, again, if we can reclaim, ultimately, if the banks do well, I think we can reclaim the 44.09 mark. I think is a strong possibility. Again, as long as nothing comes of that news event that occurred earlier today. So again, we'll have to see how overnight does. That really matters right now. If we do break back below this, like I've stated, we can come down pretty far and still be bullish. I'd start looking more at that around that 4,300 mark. I think we can get one more push down to there. I think that would also set up earnings. And when I talk about earnings, you have to really focus on big tech. That's what earnings is essentially focused around, the bigger companies. If this market decides to drop down back down to the 4,300 mark, you're burning a lot of premium to the long side. And I think that would be a perfect display of what a dip would essentially be before earnings. Again, this is also in hopes that the banks do well. If the banks do well and we get some catalyst that continues to just cause us to free fall, but we hold this level, I think could be a very good sign. So kind of watching this level again, the 4410 mark, see if we can reclaim that tomorrow. If not, I'm kind of looking at that 4,300 mark, and then be ready to load at that spot. Again, like I've always stated, when it comes into a strong support, the first bounce is what you want to catch, because that will be the biggest bounce. And then from that point, you have to manage your position. Are you going long, or are you going intraday? You going for a swing? What are you doing? That's also what really helps to be able to read the market and read the momentum of the stock. This is also why I do a lot of stuff on the hourly, because it's easier to read when it comes to the market. For entries, I do sometimes like to dive down onto the 15 just to be a little more precise, but ultimately understand everything I do is on the 1 hour. And so, and you also have to trust your lines, especially on first bounces. You have to trust your lines, but you also have to have risk management. What your conviction level of that trade is also very important. And it helps you manage risk and realize in this market, you don't need a lot to make a lot, because the moves are so dramatic. And then if also the trade goes against you, you also have that backstop, knowing that you came into it with little, and you're okay with losing what you put in, and realize that little bit can grow a lot in this kind of market. This is a volatile market, so just be mindful of that as well. And then we have earnings coming up, which is one of the biggest catalysts that comes around every quarter. So that will be interesting. But Bitcoin in itself, could say we're breaking out of the channel, we're retesting, we could sell off even more. A strong possibility. But again, Bitcoin's kind of just been moving with the market. The market is still, like I said, it's got a lot of uncertainty today. But again, not concerned unless it drops below that 32 mark. So that red zone down here. Again, we could easily come retag this essentially roughly around that 38K mark and head back up. We've had a couple different tags here. If we actually get a bounce right here where it's currently sitting, that would actually be a very bullish setup. The fact that it doesn't actually retag that zone, that it only makes about halfway and then pops back out, is really bullish. It means the buyers are really eager to get this last bounce, because this is typically the last bounce if it doesn't reach all the way back down to that 38K. Strong possibility, but again, we have to see how it plays out. Again, I've been very bullish on crypto. I think this is going to be a year of crypto, considering everything that is currently going on and the current market sentiment. But that's what I got for crypto. So going into tomorrow, I think, again, looking at strong industry leaders. Again, I'm looking at your Tesla and Google to the upside. I did have I did play Love. Did pretty well with Love this morning. It did have a bit of a breakout, but then stalled along with the rest of the market and started selling off. All value, everything has just been selling off. Nothing has really been holding. So that's also telling you something. If none of the industries are holding, there's weakness in the total market, that you need to back away and kind of let the market digest, or else you can play to the put side. But I think the downside is very limited right now. I know a lot of people are talking about a crash. Again, if you see that setup, take it and make sure it's early enough. Otherwise, I would wait around that 2 o'clock time. The market's been kind of flipping around. We've been getting some big news catalysts around that time. Either one, sit out, or just wait for that move to happen. Again, don't assume anything is going to happen. Wait for it to happen first. If it's going to chop, just sit out. Don't take a position and wait. That is the best advice I can give you during the current market. So going into tomorrow for Tesla, as far as levels, I'm looking at tomorrow. It's actually holding this 985 really well. Like I said, right when it started to break on this candle, it looked very clean. Then we got that news and it just tanked from that point. Like I said, nothing really held. This did hold very well. So I'm looking for this actually wedge break tomorrow to the upside. If the market does find everything is okay, this could be a strong. I want to start pushing again towards the end of the month. It's got earnings. So really looking to see what potential Tesla has going into earnings. So again, does it have to hold? If it dips, you definitely don't want it breaking 965. If we do break that, you do have the 20 weekly sitting around the 945. So you could get a really strong bounce, especially off a weekly. It's been a minute since we touched the weekly. So if it does touch that, we can get a nice bounce off of that. If we do continue to sell, again, I think overnight's going to be important tomorrow, and earnings first thing in the morning. See what banks do. If banks are doing well, which they didn't do well in the last earnings, but if they do well, this thing could really start ripping. Again, any positive news, the market is really just taking it and running it. And Tesla's going to be one of the ones you're going to want to watch. Google is also a major player that you want to watch. This is a really key level, this 2,500 mark. If it does hold that, you grab this and essentially ride this one out as well. I think you go do very well. And again, one thing I've been seeing, we've had multiple days of red. Now we've had multiple days of green. I think this multiple days of red, you're going to get a huge bounce out of this. These bounces have been very weak. We'll try to have that strong push again today. That news just killed us and changed the market sentiment, and now we're back down again. So watch that 2,500 mark. Again, you don't want to be holding this if it does break that. So just be mindful of that. You're going to get a retest of this 2,600 mark. Again, first attempt to try to break this is going to get rejected hard. So remember that tomorrow. If it does get through there, unless you got a massive amount of momentum, like today we had enough momentum to break us through, and we could have continued. But again, that catalyst changed very quickly. So you do have to be able to change on a dime going forward. Now, going into tomorrow, as far as the short side, I think the biggest ones I'm looking for on the short side are a shop. Shop to the short side is really what I'm looking at. I'm really watching this 587 mark. If we do break that, I think we can come down to at least the 541 mark. Strong possibility. It's kind of a speed bump, so you might just get a little bit of a bounce there. But your base is essentially at the 510 mark. So it could get pretty nasty pretty quickly. But if we are going downside, that has a lot of room to drop. So I want to keep shop on watch. Amazon is another big one. This one I try to actually take this one short yesterday because it had that pump. I tried to take it short, but I missed it. Again, you're looking for a pump. So you're kind of looking for that 30.75 mark. If we can get up to there, essentially short it from that point. But if it does break the 30.10 mark, again, you're going to have that psychological level at the 3K mark. If it does break that, I think you got quite a bit of a free fall. And I think you come down pretty far. I think you'll get a pretty clean shot down to the 28.78. Strong possibility. Again, it really just depends. We have earnings coming up, so I don't think you're going to get a clean flush on a lot of these. So you have to remember that. I think a lot of these, until we actually start getting earnings, a lot of these aren't going to be clean flushes, in my opinion, unless something dramatically starts happening. XML is one I do want to watch as well. I'm really watching this key level at 571. If we can get there and hold it, I really do like ASML as far as chips go. It's not selling as quickly as your AMDs and your NVIDIAs, but it does pump pretty hard, pretty fast. So really kind of looking at this 571 is a big one I do want to watch going into tomorrow as well. So here's the other one I'm looking at as well. This one could be a pretty cool, pretty good entry for this one. Really looking for the retest of 1133 mark. If we can get this one, get a retest on this, I think this one could be short, a really good short, especially because you have their daily. You're just now breaking through. What you want to see is your first retest for your entry. And then from that point, that's when you short it, and then you kind of watch momentum on the way down. I think if, again, we start getting gas on the way down, this is another one that's been kind of lagging behind. I might even have a strong correlation and ratio to shop, so you can watch that as well and see what happens there. But that's pretty much what I got. So I don't want to make this video too long. There is not really a lot going on. Again, I would stay with key stocks going into tomorrow and really kind of watch and see how the banks do, and then kind of see how pre-market is to really determine what to take. So again, be mindful, be nimble, be agile, especially, again, today was a good example of that. News changed the market dynamic very quickly. So, and until next time, I will see you guys later.